the Pioneer viewers, how are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring you the developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. In our previous reports, we have given an important information about this issue. We know that the war has now officially spread to Russia, and there are also new developments regarding this war that has spread to Russia. The cross-border operation by the Free Russian Legion and the Russian Volunteer Corps continue. But there is an even more important issue: the attacks by the unmanned aerial vehicles of the Ukrainian armed forces in the heart of the Russian Federation. And the Ukrainian armed forces have once again targeted the Russian capital, Moscow. In many of our reports, we have told you about the importance of the capital and the importance of the transportation in wartime. There are new developments that seems to prove this assertion, and according to reports, the air defense systems of the Russian armed forces have once again proved ineffective. The Ukrainian armed forces have once again overcome their air defenses of the Russian army and managed to hit the several targets within the borders of the Russian Federation. So, what are the developments regarding these operations, and let's analyze them together. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring you developments regarding Russia-Ukraine war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our daily reports. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the videos. Thank you for your support. Let's start if you are ready. The Pioneer reports. Ukrainian armed forces continue their operations against Russian targets behind the front line. According to many sources, the reason for the intensification of the clashes is the Ukrainian army's attacks behind the front line. As it is known, the Ukrainian army has an important strategy since the beginning of the war: attacks behind the front line. Unmanned aerial vehicles attacks behind the front line are one of the most important strategies used by the Ukrainian armed forces on the front line. And I've shared with you in our previous observations on this issue in the previous reports, of course, and the Russian sources have also made statements in recent days and mentioned that the unmanned aerial vehicles attack range of the Ukrainian army has increased. The request of the Russian sources was clear. It was to take new measures against these attacks of the Ukrainian army and to strengthen the defenses. However, it seems that the Russian administration have not done any work on this issue. So, according to the latest reports, drones of the Ukrainian armed forces have once again taken off. This time, the unmanned aerial vehicles of the Ukrainian army were targeting Moscow, the capital of Russia and the heart of the country. We have mentioned this issue in our previous reports as well, and the range of the Ukrainian armed forces to Moscow is a major threat to Russia. So the fact that the capital is under attack shows that there are serious problems in the protection of the country, and as I already mentioned, Russia has been unable to make measures or take any measures in this regard for a long time. Moscow, the Russian capital, was again targeted of the Ukrainian armed forces and the Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles that took the air in recent days. Ukrainian military unmanned aerial vehicles hit the Moscow airport. According to reports, unmanned aerial vehicles belonging to the Ukrainian army hit Domodedovo airport in Moscow, and the Russian official sources have still not made an official statement on the matter. However, according to local sources, one of the ground-controlled buildings at the airport was hit as a result of the attacks by the Ukrainian army unmanned aerial vehicles, and it is also reported that the unmanned aerial vehicles was filled with explosives and the explosion was violent. So images of the explosion and the moment of the hit were also shared on social media. In the footage, it is seen that a big explosion occurred, and in addition, in another image of the moment of the incident, it is seen that those in the area are running from a great panic. So statements from the Russian sources on the subject came only from the unofficial channels, and the Russian news channel, which made a post about the latest attacks on Telegram, used the following statements about the situation in the region. A Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicle hit a warehouses near the capital's Domodedovo airport, and it is said that as a result of the heat, some equipments in the warehouse exploded and started to burn. We don't know if there were casualties or not, but we can say that violent explosions were heard in many parts of the city, and there has been no statements from the regional governor's office yet, and we continue to monitor the situation. According to reports, as a result of this attack by the Ukrainian armed forces, a series of measures were taken in the Russian airspace. As I've mentioned in the beginning of this report, transportation lines are of great importance during the war, and it is even more important for a country like Russia, which is located on the vast geography, to protect its airspace. Since the area is large, there is a threat of being hit from another point at any time. And however, it seems that the Russian leadership has not been able to realize its so-called power claims, and these have remained just like claims. So the fact that the Russian military is still unable to fully realize its air defenses believes that the Russian leadership's claimed of the strong army and a strong defense. Some military experts have frequently warned the Kremlin with the statements drawing attention to this situation. Moreover, it should be noted that these experts were Russians. In other words, they gave friendly warnings to the Russian leadership. However, the Russian leadership perceives any warnings as a threat to the regime. Therefore, these warnings are usually ignored, and not long time ago, at the beginning of the year, a military expert made a statement on the Russian television and said that the following in his assessments of the situation in the region. The enemy's capacity to hit targets has increased considerably, and this is not something that is taken into account. Probably the world leadership thinks that successes on the ground front will eliminate the capacity, but the enemy's drone capacity and the ground fight should not be viewed in the same light. If this war is to be won, measures must be taken on all fronts. Many of our friends have been addressing this issue for a long time, but the leadership has still not developed any significant measures. We have air defense. This is true. If we have adequate air defense, Moscow would not have been hit today, but the enemy is still capable of hitting our capital. Apparently, military experts are also referring to the growing capabilities of the Ukrainian armed forces and the inability of the Russian leadership to protect Russian airspace. It is worth noting that recent attacks by the Ukrainian military have disturbed and disrupted an air traffic in and around Moscow. Such attacks should not only be evaluated militarily, but also economically. With just one unmanned aerial vehicle attack, the Ukrainian armed forces can inflict both military and financial damage on the Russian government. And of course, it is also important that the Russian citizens are angry with the Russian government because of the fear they experience in this process. So what do you think? How do you think drone strikes by the Ukrainian armed forces affect Russia? Do you think these attacks should continue? Do you think Russian air defense systems are inadequate? Why doesn't the Russian leadership take any more measures? Let me know in the comments, because you know that I read and I care about all of your comments.